Sanman, guys. So last week we were giving a workshop at a prominent bank in South Africa, and we were talking about media insights and just guiding them as best as we can. And I was sitting there and I was watching my colleague present, and God, she was amazing. And I'm sitting there and I'm just, that anxiety, and I'm like, shit, you know, when it's my turn. Yeah, when you remember at school back in the day when we had to do a class oral, and all of a sudden, nje, kuna leo panic nyana that comes in the nerves of that. And I'm listening to her present and how knowledgeable she is, and I'm looking at the other guy who's also presenting and how knowledgeable he is, and when my turn is going to get there, when am I going to mess up? With that being said, I have been given a chance to present and talk at a very, very prestigious event next week. The IAB, that is the Interactive Advertising Bureau. So it's an organization that has within themselves like 500 media company or advertising companies, and it's an international company. So again, great honor, great excitement, but that feeling in that pit, yeah, one. And chatting to a couple of friends of mine, chatting to a really good friend of mine, Marcel. We were at gym, and he's talking about this, and he's also bringing up his also downfalls, and he's asking me, Penson, do you ever have imposter syndrome? And very quickly I was like, fact boy, my current space, having coming from education for so long, now being in media, digital media, every room I walk in, with people that have masters in this and that and that, and they've got these fancy titles and have been in the industry for 15 years, 20 years, more. And lapho mina, I'm coming in, oh, nkulunkulu wami, what do I know? And I've got that imposter syndrome, and he was talking about that, and he was talking about it in his space. And this is a very, very, very amazing guy, very educated. He's about to become a CA, working for a multi-billion rand company. It's crazy how we find ourselves in these spaces and constantly feel less than, or constantly feel like a fraud, or we don't belong. So imposter syndrome, the lady that coined the term was psychologist Pauline Rose Clark. Clark. Wasn't correct, Bazi. And she started picking up females in her grad classes that were out of sync, and she'd sit with them and all the time, and constantly she'd pick out the fact that there was an inferiority complex. What's happening? So she started doing these studies, and then coined the term inferiority, or rather not inferiority, but imposter syndrome. Again, at that time, I think this was like 60, 50 years ago, females were getting into the academic space, and as a result felt less than compared to their male counterparts. And they've subsequently done these studies with minority groups, or black people integrating into university and feeling less than, feeling witty, oh, I'm only here because of a quota system, or I'm only here because of this, I'm only here and I'm not good enough. Reading on Maya Angelou, reading on Albert Einstein, these are prominent figures, amazing people who also write so many times about also feeling like a fraud, also feeling like they don't belong in these spaces. And that has me thinking, Wuti, so many of us find ourselves in all these places. There's a term for it called plausible ignorance, where you feel like you're the only person that doesn't belong, where you feel like you're lesser, but everyone else quietly also feels the same. Everybody else also feels like they don't belong in this space, and everybody feels like a fraud. The problem with this world that we live in is we know ourselves from the inside, but we only know others from the outside. So think about social media, where we're watching everybody's lives from the outside, and what people tend to do is that people show us their highlight reels. Meanwhile, within yourself, how you know yourself, the anxiety, the nerves, that pit in your stomach, with the A here, it feels like I'm alone, because when I watch everybody else's highlight reel, everybody else's social media, everyone else from the outside is looking like they've got this shit together. Gandhi, they could be panicking, and again, that's where I find myself with, man, Penson, come on, come on. I'm nervous, sure. I'm anxious, sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean everyone else doesn't feel that way. And on top of that, giving myself that time to to grow into this position, to grow into this industry. You know, it's a constant battle between an ego, unconscious ego, and your conscious insecurities. So again, you're feeling inferior because consciously you are insecure of the space that you are in. But again, from a subconscious point, there's a part of your ego that compares you currently with people that have been in the industry for 10 years, 20 years, 15 years, whatever the case may be. It's managing all of that. You know, I'm not meant to have everything put together and be perfect in every space. That's not how life works. We are all growing into these places, regardless of who you are. Your boss is also your boss for the first time. Like if it might be their second year in their role as senior management. So they also growing into that role, and they also feel a level of insecurity, a level of anxiety, a level of, nervousness in that new role, whatever it is. So no one just goes, boom, I've got it, I've arrived, I'm perfect. They might look like that from the outside, but on the inside they also have their doubts. So it's one of those things to understand, Uti. Your boss also takes a shit. Your boss also plays with themselves. All those human elements where you feel like you're the only person, that goes through all of this stuff. They also go through these things, good, bad, and everything in between. So you are not alone feeling like an imposter in your control. Just manage the insecurity. Understand, Uti, everybody is insecure in different spaces. They were an intern before. Now they're in this space and they've grown into it. Manage your ego in the sense of, it's my second year here. I'm comparing myself to people that have been here for 10 years. We can't be in the same place. I've been in this role for a month. I can't compare myself with someone who's been at that role for 5 years, for 6 months, whatever the case may be. So it's just one of those things that just had me thinking around this topic. But let me know what you think. Let me know about the challenges that you go through. Let's talk openly so that we all don't feel like we're alone in our spaces. But anyway, guys, Ngiyantanda, have a fantastic day.